Let's see here. And then we're going to talk about this last concept is really just that personal finance is problem-based learning, honestly. When we're talking about budgets and decision making, we're talking about student-centered discussion, open-ended questions, real-world applications, that are all going to vary just based on the student group and what their different values and priorities and opinions and backgrounds are. Again, there's a lot of overlap here. These skills really build upon themselves, but a lot of these are going to deal with budget. And I love talking about the social emotional side of budgets because I don't know about you, but I learned how to budget in school. I learned the concept of a budget, kind of a little bit. And what no one ever taught me is that budgets are kind of like diets. Like they never go according to plan. They never go exactly the way they're supposed to go. Something always happens, right? And you have an unexpected expense and you have to reallocate your resources. And that's diving into that social emotional side. And that's so important when we're coming to math skills. If you've got a concept or a problem that you cannot understand right now, right? We got to be able to regroup, consider our options, reallocate those brain resources to a strategy that's going to work for us. So overall, trying to develop that problem solving and self-efficacy within our kids that comes to these word problems, because you can just say the word problem. These kids are like, can't do it. Done. Can't do it. Right. These are like sneaky word problems. I think, which are the best kind of math, is sneaky math. So we're looking at making spending choices. This is another pet lesson. What's great about this is that there is actually a little digital story that connects to it. A group of money monsters, they're called. There's a whole series actually of these books. They're very cute. They teach different personal finance topics. And there are links to that. We actually on our website also have a companion guide for some of those as well in our SEL package. But making spending choices about a pet. What's different about this one is they're not just looking at the money that a pet costs, they're looking at the time investment too. And I think that is a really interesting aspect. They develop a table again to read that. Birthday party budgets. I like this because it's a great community builder. We're at least apologies if you just heard my dog. It's a great community builder because we're doing a birthday bar graph, kind of maybe a common activity or a popular activity to look at people's birthdays, list them up on the wall. But this time we're making a giant bar graph to look at everyone, have them all represented, and then they work on a budget to plan an imaginary classroom party. I think it might be important to underline that part that it is imaginary. So I'm going to note that. Again, adaptable. It's a first grade lesson, very adaptable. Service group choices talks about giving time, scarcity of time in their decision making. The group is donating time to improving their schoolyard. Where are they going to put their human capital, their human resources? And then they create a frequency table to read and from the results of that. The fourth one is called using a buying plan. And this one is a very specific buying plan for a laptop. 3 options. And what I love about this is one of them is pre-used, which is really cool. This kid wants to get a new computer. He's got to choose between like a pre-owned basic laptop and a super nice gaming computer. Obviously, there's a big spectrum of price there. But we're looking at what are the qualities, what are the criteria that are really important, and then comparing prices and making those different types of evaluations. Last one is a day at the amusement park. I'm really into this lesson. You do a PACE guide to decide what you would do with just 6 tickets to spend at a park. Would you and I know that 6 tickets probably still cost like $100 at a fair, but regardless, they have 6. We got different allocations. Roller coasters 4, bumper cars are 3, water rides 2, ring tosses 1. But it's not just them deciding. We're looking at all of the different combinations that are possible with 6 tickets. There's great algebra introduction here. 1R plus 2 RT 1 roller coaster and 2 ring toss. Great ideas for introducing algebra and looking at different combinations of numbers, which I, again, just kind of really into this one. I think it's great. Even the older ones can be, I think, successfully implemented as a whole group lesson with younger kids. So these are some, again, the lessons. This is just a chunk of the lessons that we have, but ones that I particularly love with, again, those open-ended, problem-based learning, manipulating numbers, and really digging into what it means to make choices when it comes to our money and not just impulse spend and make impulse decisions. We also have a lot of digital games that we have looked at. And I mean, there's so many games out there, right? So many of these games, and a lot of them are great and a lot of them are useful. But these ones I particularly like for reinforcing different skills. If you have one-to-one technology, I mean, these are great for centers, for early finishers. Peter Pig's money counter over there on the K2 is from Practical Money Skills. It's Visa's program. It's great about learning facts about currency as well. So for some of our newcomer students who are getting familiar with US currency and the denominations and what it looks like, it can be a great reinforcement of that, as well as just like the counting. And then the next 2 on the K2 are ABC YA, which my kids were silly, but they even enjoyed that still as 7th graders. There's a nostalgia factor there, I think. But what we love about, ABC YA is you're going to get the math standards attached, which I always appreciate, because then you say, hey, I'm hitting standards. They're not in a game. I'm hitting standards. Learning to count money is really, there's a lot of skill level settings you can set on that one, which I really like. It's very cute. Drag and drop. The Dolphin Dash is a racing game. It's exciting. Of course, you want to make sure you have the right kind of classroom environment for that, and you set the stage for, that kind of competitive game. Obviously, some students do really poorly in like a time-based environment, but for those students who enjoy it and look for that, that competition to really be a motivator, or even within a small group, this can be a really great, if you have students paired that kind of take the same amount of time to work through problems. With the older kids, Cash Out is a Mr. Nussbaum game, if you're familiar with that one. I have a caveat when it comes to Cash Out. You're going to see, if you click on it, that there is a Spanish version of this game, or a version in Spanish. I am not a gigantic fan of, I'm not advocating for the use of the Spanish version, because to me, it's not an equitable translation. The graphics aren't on the same level. The size of the bills you're dragging and dropping is not even similar. So to me, that's not a quality Spanish resource. So I would recommend it in the Cash Out in the English version, but I would not recommend it for our dual language learners. Cash Code Breakers. Oh my goodness. Cash Code Breakers is from the US Currency Education Program. They have put together some really neat little resources. They have a Currency Academy for K3 that is a very engaging little platform that talks about the different forms, the different aspects and characteristics of US currency. But the Cash Code Breakers is aimed for their older students. I think it's aimed for middle school, but I didn't find the algebra to be like terribly advanced. Basically, you're trapped in a museum. You can do it in classroom mode, or you can do it in individual mode. And you have to go through different exhibits. It's an exhibit on the history of money, or on currency. You have to go through different exhibits and complete different algebra problems in order to get the code to exit the museum. It is time intensive. And I would, this would be for your at or above grade level, 4th and 5th grade, but it's challenging. The graphics are really great. It's engaging for students. I enjoyed it for whatever that's worth. And I loved it. And it has a teacher guide if you wanted to do the whole group as well. And then briefly, because we're at this part, I would love to show you, this is our complete list of digital games and activities. I want to see if I can pull this up really quick. So this, let me see.